people don't know what it really amounts to, either due to unreliable sources or misinformation, which has led to a series of myths about climate change. In this video, I tackle the subject from an objective scientific viewpoint, discussing the causes and consequences of climate change and how it should be tackled. First, we need to clarify two concepts, often mistaken for synonyms: climate change and global warming. There is an important difference between them, however, given that it is a global warming that causes climate change. As the planet's temperature rises more than it would naturally, the climate varies. Global warming is caused by the greenhouse effect, a natural process by which the atmosphere retains some of the sun's heat, allowing the Earth to maintain the necessary conditions to host life. The problem is that daily human activities maximize the greenhouse effect, causing the planet's temperature to increase even more. Experts agree that the Industrial Revolution was the turning point when emissions of greenhouse gases entering the atmosphere began to soar. The Industrial Revolution was itself born out of smaller revolution: agriculture, technological, demographic, transport, finance, creating a new model of production and consumption. From then onward, population growth, exploding research use, increasing energy demand and production mainly from fossil fuels. Also, the planet entered into what the scientific community have termed the Anthropocene period, a new geological era characterized by human impact on Earth. The main impact was the increase in the global temperature of the planet. The worst climate change impacts include the melting of the ice mass at the poles. Also increases the appearance of more violent weather phenomena, drought, fires, the death of animal and plant species, flooding from rivers and lakes, the creation of climate refuges, and destruction of the food chain and economic resources, especially in developing countries. Despite of the fact I did really deep research, I didn't find any legit source which can show any disproving facts. The evidence for rapid climate change is compelling. Global temperature rise. The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees since the late 19th century. Warming oceans. The ocean have absorbed much of this increased heat, with the top 70 meters of ocean showing warming of more than 104 degrees. Shrinking ice sheets. The Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets have decreased in mass. Data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiments show Greenland lost an average of 286 billion tons of ice per year between 1993 and 2016, while Antarctica lost about 127 billion tons of ice per year during the same time period. The rate of Antarctica ice mass loss have tripled in the last decade. Glacial retreat. Glaciers are retreating almost everywhere around the world, including in the Alps, Himalayas, Rockies, Alaska, and Africa. Decreased snow cover. Satellite observation revealed that the amount of spring snow cover in the northern hemisphere has decreased over the past 5 decades, and that the snow is melting earlier. Sea level rise. Global sea level rose about 8 inches in the last century. The rate in the last 2 decades, however, is nearly double that of the last century and is accelerating slightly every year. Declining Arctic sea ice. Both the extent and thickness of Arctic sea ice has declined rapidly over the last several decades. Extreme events. The number of record high temperature events in the United States has been increasing, while the number of record low temperature events has been decreasing. The US has also witnessed increasing numbers of intense rainfall events. Ocean acidification. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the acidity of the surface ocean waters has increased by about 30%. This increase is the result of humans emitting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and hence more being absorbed into the ocean. The amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by the upper layer of the ocean is increasing by about 2 billion tons per year. In recent years, global warming and climate change have been the subject of a great deal of political controversy, especially in the US. But as the science becomes clearer and consensus grows impossible to ignore, debate is moving away from whether humans are causing warming and towards questions about how best to respond. In my case, I see a lot of people saying, there is no consensus over climate change. 97% of climate experts agree humans are causing global warming, or we are heading into an ice age. No, worry about global warming impact in the next 10 years, not an ice age in the last 1,000 years, or even the worst. It is not that bad. Yes, it is. Negative impact of global warming on agriculture, health, and environment far outweigh any positives. So my opinion is that we are the last generation which can make some difference. And if we want to have a good future for the next generation, we should stop avoiding the problem we are facing.